Hey guys, at last I had the chance to play and finish this game, so let's give it a review. I'll check its story, gameplay, graphics, music and collector's edition, so let's begin. Forbidden West starts after the events of Zero Dawn, where we see how Aloy is searching as much as possible where Gaia could be found to stop the blight from spreading and turning everything into a barren land. Inevitably, she ends up visiting a place where a battle against machines took place, finding out that the person who helped her is once again scheming things behind her back. That's how she takes the choice to proceed into another area, known as Forbidden West. The way this started was a bit annoying to me because it feels as the writers wanted to take a direction on how Aloy was going to be, let's say, changed in the story, but her attitude just swings at the beginning of the game. Later it turns once again as if nothing had changed. Perhaps it was just me, but that is how I perceive the beginning of the story. I wouldn't have mind if they wanted to take that idea and go way far with it, but I am almost sure that these setbacks were done because of how the public in general perceived the game in some trailers, and I am sure that's the reason why they made some jokes at the beginning. But other than that, the story flows way better after those events. We get to see some crazy twists here and there. I am not going to spoil any of them in case you haven't played the game. Perhaps my only concern is that I felt they threw some classic stereotypes with some new characters, where it turned the story into something predictable. That's of course just my opinion. However, it was a good story. I'll say it is an 8.5. For its gameplay, it is as beautiful as the first game, with some new mechanics to proceed into the story. But what makes me play this game is that the complexity of its open world is just extraordinary. Literally, once you have passed the gates of the Forbidden West, the world is yours to thread however you want. Of course, there are some limitations to where you can go or explore. Nonetheless, you can make your way up until some of the harder areas, and if you are getting near a place that's several levels above you, the game shows you a message saying something like, be well prepared because there is no turning back from this point until you finish. At first you cannot encounter every single machine, but once you reach some parts of the story, they start appearing here and there, and the level of customization regarding weapons and options to take down machines is really good. In normal or easy difficulties, you can get away with just using your normal bow, but if you plan to tackle this game in harder difficulties and not take a lot of time, you have to exploit every single weakness the enemy has, otherwise it can take a lot of time. Just experimenting how far I was able to get away with this, I fought some big machines with a crappy bow, and it takes ages. So that's the reason why I decided to take a huge detour, get some goodies and start destroying machines here and there. Another cool thing is that they added a good number of new machines with different mechanics, so you can find them with several elements or powered up versions. Two interesting ways to play the game were added. Aquatic levels. In video games they are usually hated because they are slow and annoying. Here was no real exception, but it adds an interesting complexity, and some of those areas are really beautiful. And the other important mechanic is being able to fly. This is the one that can break the game in several parts and in dumb ways, but also saves you a lot of time in case you left some quests on really high places. The gameplay is just really good to me. It is a 10. There are several options, no gimmicky quests, and you can almost go wherever you want at the beginning. For the graphics, if you have seen some of my reviews, I am not the kind of person who's picky regarding this topic. I won't ramble through my ideas. This game is gorgeous. The multiple environments that it has, sandstorms, blizzards, diving and on sky, as well as every machine. If you take the time to look at something like a Thunderjaw, for example, you can see every little movement that it has. As a mechanic, it is fascinating looking at these machines and all their moving parts. It is basically as if they were breathing, and it looks really good whenever you afflict a monster with acid or other things. My only real complaint is that for some reason, this armor piece just moves all over the place in cinematics, making it way distracting, and sometimes the game glitches where in videos they go through doors, sometimes the head of enemies are invisible and so on. Aside from minor issues, visually it is a feast to my eyes. It is a 10. The music presented in this game in general is real chill. Not a fan of these kind of cinematic tracks, but I cannot deny that they are really well composed. The ones that I really loved is when you go diving into the sunken city in Las Vegas. Perhaps it is not one of those soundtracks that I would listen on a daily basis, but it is beautiful. What I enjoyed is that they have an interesting mix between electronic and something like tribal sounds. It is a 9. Horizon Forbidden West final score is a 9.3. Extraordinary game, and I really recommend it basically for anyone. There are countless options and ways to finish it. And for the collector's edition, it is something well prepared. There are many beautiful details. At first I thought that the mantle was going to give you some ideas of where certain items or stuff like that were located, but even if it doesn't show you that information, it looks cool. The Tremor Tusk looks really well. I am not an expert in the quality of these polymers, so I won't emit a definitive judge about it, but in general, it is a really cool collector's edition. Aside from one thing, this freaking piece of shit doesn't have a disc for the soundtrack or game. That was the most disappointing thing for me. Someone who likes to have a physical copy of the game and soundtrack. I would say it is a 7. Beautiful pieces of art but lacks the physical disc. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.